My brother, my sister, if you hear nothing else today, I need you to hear this. God sees everything, every tear, every betrayal, every silent night where you wondered if anyone even cared. Maybe you're walking through one of the hardest seasons of your life right now, a season filled with heartbreak, betrayal, and people walking away from you like you never mattered, and deep in the quiet places of your heart, you've wondered, does God even see what they did to me? Does He care? Let me tell you, He does. He sees, He cares. He is not some distant figure sitting silently in the sky. No. He is the God who sits high and looks low. He is a present help. Not just when things are good, but especially when your world feels like it's falling apart. You see, people think they can do what they want and get away with it. They smile in your face and stab you in the back. They take your kindness as weakness. And after you've given them your best, they repay you with betrayal. But hear me, God saw it. He saw the nights when your pillow was soaked with tears no one else knew you cried. He saw those moments you stayed up, unable to sleep because your heart was heavy, your mind racing. He saw you keep your mouth shut when you could have exposed them. He saw you stay loyal, even when your soul was shattered. And let me remind you today, God does not forget. You see, the problem is, we get trapped looking for human justice. We want them to pay. We want to see them suffer the way they made us suffer. We want to see their downfall. But God doesn't move on human timelines. Just because it looks like they're getting away with it now, doesn't mean they are. The word says, God is not mocked. Whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. That means every lie, every act of manipulation, every injustice, they will have to answer for it. But here's the key. It's not your job to make them pay. It's not your job to prove they were wrong. It's not your responsibility to force them to see that you were the one who was real all along. God will handle it. He's always been handling it. I feel this so strongly for somebody right now. You've been wrestling with the weight of what they did to you. You've been trying to understand why God allowed it to happen in the first place. But hear this. Just because God allowed it, does not mean He approved of it. Sometimes, God allows people to hurt you, so He can remove them from your life. Sometimes, He allows betrayal to position you for something greater. If Judas had never betrayed Jesus, the cross would have never happened, and without the cross, salvation would not have come. That means the betrayal wasn't the end, it was the setup, it was the door to something far greater. Some of you are desperately trying to hold on to people God already exposed. You're crying over relationships God already judged. He showed you their heart, He let you see their true colors. And still, you want to keep them close. But I hear the Lord saying, let them go. You don't need to cling to people who are only meant to walk with you for a season. When God exposes something, He's giving you a warning. If you ignore that warning, you will only delay the blessing He has prepared for you. Stop crying over people God removed. Stop chasing people who walked away. Stop trying to explain yourself to people who were never meant to understand you. God is your vindicator. Sometimes, God will let it look like they've won for a little while, not because He's forgotten, but because He's giving them a chance to repent. God is so merciful, even to those who've done wrong. But don't confuse His patience with His permission. If they don't turn, if they don't make it right, if they keep walking in pride, God will step in. And when He does, it won't be pretty. That's why you don't need to waste your time trying to prove yourself. You don't need to spend another night wondering, when will they see what they did to me? When God moves, they will see. When He handles it, they will know. But by the time they realize it, you'll be so far ahead, so blessed, so covered in favor, that you won't even be thinking about them anymore. Somebody needs to let this settle in your spirit right now. God is handling it. He's been handling it from the very moment it happened. You may not see it yet, but He's been working behind the scenes all along. That's why you don't have to be bitter. That's why you don't have to spend your energy plotting revenge. That's why you don't have to walk around with unforgiveness chained to your heart. Because God is in control. You just keep walking, keep trusting, keep believing, keep moving forward. God is getting ready to show you why He let it happen. He's about to lift you up right in front of the very people who tried to break you, and when He does, you'll lift your hands and say, thank you, Lord. I see it now. I know you feel it. The weight of it all, the betrayal, the heartbreak, the endless questions. Why did it happen? Why did they do it? Why did God let it happen? But hear me. The battle is not yours. You don't have to fight this one. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You don't have to spend another sleepless night replaying the pain over and over again in your mind. Because God has already handled it. The truth is, we often have this urge to fix things ourselves. We want people to see our pain, we want them to admit what they did, we want them to feel what we felt. But let me ask you, what if they never do? What if they never apologize? What if they never change? What if they never realize how deeply they hurt you? Will you stay stuck? Will you put your future on hold waiting for closure that may never come? No. Because God didn't call you to fight battles He's already declared victory over. Some of you have been exhausting yourselves trying to prove your worth to people who were never meant to see it. You've been draining yourself, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, trying to make people understand pain they were never equipped to comprehend. But God says, stand still. I've got this one. The problem is, we don't like to stand still, we don't like to let go, we want control, we want to know exactly when and how God will move. But that's not how faith works. Faith says, God, I trust you, even when I can't see it. Faith says, God, I trust you, even when it feels unfair. Faith says, God, I trust you, even when I don't understand it. And when you finally release the need to control, that's when God steps in and fights for you. The enemy wants to keep you distracted. He wants you so wrapped up in the pain that you miss what God is building for you. He wants you fighting battles that don't belong to you. He wants you trapped in bitterness. He wants you chasing revenge. He wants you stuck in frustration. But let me tell you, you don't have time for that. You don't have time to be tangled in drama. You don't have time to be stuck in what was. You don't have time to keep replaying conversations that God already closed the door on. Because where God is taking you, you cannot afford to be distracted. I know it's hard to watch people walk away like you never mattered. I know it's painful to see people move on like you were just a footnote in their story. But that's not your fight, that's not your burden. The God who called you, the God who anointed you, the God who brought you this far, He is saying, let me handle it. And when God steps in, He doesn't just settle the battle, He elevates you in the process. The attack wasn't about you, it was about your purpose. The betrayal wasn't just an attack, it was a distraction. The rejection wasn't just pain, it was redirection. And the moment you stop fighting battles that don't belong to you, is the moment you finally step into everything God has for you. There are moments when, to bring Himself the greatest glory, God allows them to appear as though they are winning. He lets it seem that way, not because He is unaware, but because when they finally fall, no one will be able to deny that it was His hand that moved. And the truth is, by the time that moment comes, you may not even be concerned with them anymore. By the time God deals with them, you will have been so blessed, so elevated, so far ahead, that you simply won't care. You won't have the energy or interest to look back. That's why you must not waste your time and energy watching their life unfold. Stop checking their social media. Stop listening to what others are saying about them. Stop looking for signs that they are suffering. That is not your concern. God is already handling it. And when He acts, you don't want to be so caught up in their downfall that you miss your own breakthrough. You see, God doesn't just handle those who hurt you, He heals you in the process. And this is the very thing the enemy hopes you never realize. The enemy wants you trapped in bitterness, obsessed with revenge, consumed by what they did to you. But if you let go of that, if you shift your focus back to God, you will begin to see that He has been blessing you all along, even while you were waiting for them to fall. While you were busy watching them, God was busy building you. While your eyes were fixed on them, God was positioning you for your next season. And when you finally release it, when you truly stop worrying about when God is going to act, that's when you will step into everything He has prepared for you. So let me ask you, are you willing to trust God's timing? Are you willing to believe that just because you can't see it, doesn't mean it's not happening? Because if you can, if you truly release it and trust that God is in control, you will witness His justice unfold in ways that no human effort could ever accomplish. And when it happens, you'll realize, it was never about them. It was always about you, about your growth, your healing, your destiny. God's justice is perfect. You don't need to worry. You don't need to fight. You don't need to wonder when it will happen. Just trust Him, because He is already working. There comes a time when you must decide, what's more important, your destiny or your distraction? Let me tell you something. The enemy is strategic. He doesn't attack you randomly. He studies you. He observes you. He knows exactly which buttons to push, which wounds to press, and exactly which people to send into your life to keep you from fully walking in what God has for you. If you're not careful, you could spend years fighting battles that were never yours to fight. Stuck in cycles carefully designed to keep you from moving forward. One of the enemy's greatest tricks is to keep you so focused on the pain of what they did that you never step into the promise of what God is doing. He wants you to replay the hurt over and over. He wants you stuck in that place of anger, trapped in resentment, desperate for validation. But hear me. When you allow what they did to define you, you are giving them power that does not belong to them. You are allowing people who were only meant to be a lesson to become your limitation. But God did not call you to be limited. He called you to be victorious. He called you to rise above it. He called you to be healed. I know, it's hard to move on when there's no apology. I know, it's hard to let go when they refuse to acknowledge the pain they cause. But let me tell you this, your healing is not tied to their confession. Your breakthrough is not dependent on their realization. If you are waiting for them to say sorry before you move forward, you might be waiting forever, because some people will never admit what they did. But God is saying, I am your closure. I am your healing. I am your restoration. So let it go. Let go of the need to prove anything to anyone. Let go of the desire to be understood by people who were never meant to understand you. Let go of the burden of trying to make them see what they refuse to see. Because the moment you release it, the moment you stop looking back, the moment you decide that nothing, absolutely nothing, is worth forfeiting what God has for you, that's when true freedom begins. And that's the part the enemy doesn't want you to realize. He doesn't mind if you stay hurt. He minds if you get healed. He doesn't mind if you stay bitter. He minds if you get better. Because when you heal, you break the cycle. When you move forward, you prove that what they did could never stop what God ordained. When you refuse to be trapped by resentment, you step into a strength the enemy never wanted you to have. Oh, I feel this is for someone. You've been carrying something for far too long. You've been holding on to something that should have been released long ago. You keep replaying it. You keep analyzing it. You keep wondering if things could have been different. But God is saying, enough. It's time to move forward. It's time to stop looking at what was and start stepping into what is. Because the longer you hold on to what hurt you, the longer you delay what is meant to heal you. When you've been wronged, when you've been betrayed, when you've been mistreated, it's hard to hear this part. Because in our humanity, we crave justice. Deep down, we want those who hurt us to feel exactly what they made us feel. We want them to experience the same pain, the same confusion, the same heartbreak that they put us through. But here's the problem. When you try to take justice into your own hands, you step outside of God's process. When you try to settle the score yourself, you remove yourself from divine order. And the truth is, no matter how carefully you plan your version of justice, it will never compare to what God can do. It will always fall short. Because God sees what you cannot see. He knows things you don't know. He understands the weight of the calling on your life. He knows the places He's taking you, places your eyes haven't even imagined yet. God knows something else too. Revenge is a trap. The enemy wants you so consumed with getting even, so wrapped up in proving your point, that you lose sight of your purpose. He wants you to waste your energy chasing after justice, energy that should have been invested in becoming who God has called you to be. But hear me clearly, your future is too big to waste it on paying people back. Your destiny is too important to be distracted by people who were never meant to walk with you in the first place. You don't have to fight for yourself. God will fight for you. You don't need to prove anything. God Himself will vindicate you. And when God handles a situation, He doesn't just correct the person. He deals with the spirit behind it. He doesn't just confront the offense. He uproots the very root of the thing that was sent to destroy you. That's why you must trust Him. That's why you must resist the urge to retaliate. Because when God steps in, He doesn't just settle the matter, He shifts the atmosphere. I know, it feels like they got away with it. It looks like they're thriving while you're still struggling. But don't let what you see fool you. Just because it hasn't been addressed yet doesn't mean it won't be. Just because they're walking around like nothing ever happened doesn't mean God didn't see it. You don't need to remind God of what happened, He knows. He saw the betrayal. He heard the lies. He witnessed the manipulation. And in His perfect time, He will deal with it. And when God handles something, He handles it thoroughly. Nothing is left unfinished. Nothing slips through his hands. He misses nothing. But you must step out of the way. You have to let him be God. If you try to fix it yourself, you may only make things worse. If you try to handle it in your own strength, you may accidentally ruin what God was carefully setting up for you. Some battles were never meant to be yours. Some wrongs were never meant for you to correct. Some situations are meant to be surrendered, fully placed in the hands of God. And here's the truth that often shakes us. Sometimes God's justice doesn't look like what we expect. Sometimes, instead of punishing them, He humbles them. Sometimes, instead of breaking them, He changes them. And that's hard for us to accept, isn't it? Because in our pain, we want to see them suffer. We want to see them feel what we felt. We want to see them experience the same depth of sorrow they caused. But God is after something far greater than just making people pay for their mistakes. God is after hearts. God is after transformation. He is after redemption. Because while you only see what they did, God sees who they are. You see the offense, but God sees the soul. You see the wound, but God sees the potential. And sometimes, the greatest justice isn't in their downfall, it's in their repentance. Sometimes, the victory isn't watching them fall, it's witnessing them change. And that's not always easy to accept. But could it be that the justice you're seeking isn't in their destruction, but in their redemption?